There is a concern that maybe because data isn't precise in China, that the economic situation is much worse than is projected. It already is bad, even the Chinese state admits that. How much worse could it be? What's the worst case scenario from a China perspective?
Well, it's certainly bad because a lot of small enterprises haven't had business for some time. I mean, it's hard to gauge how much. But I think one of the lessons from the pandemic is rebound can happen. So I would suspect that with the pandemic behind them, once they're no longer fearful of opening up, once they know businesses are no longer fearful of closures at random, I think you will have much more confidence in that economy and you will see a rebound happening.
How do you assess the future of the globalization project? Do you think the trends towards deglobalization will deepen and that is inevitable? Or do you see Xi possibly course correcting given the fact that there were protests and given the fact that they seem to be making some conciliatory noises recently?
I think it's in China's interest to have a globalized world because it has benefited tremendously. They will try. The problem now, of course, is that the US has turned against globalization, whether it's the Democrats or the Republicans. All this talk of friendshoring by somebody, Janet Yellen, who is, a very renowned economist, but also one of those who you would think would be pro-globalization. So I think the US view is now, first, anti-globalization to some extent, but of course, very fearful of China. So whatever overtures are made, there still is a sense that long-term, as China rebounds and gets its act together, it's not going to be a friendly country.
Before I conclude, there's a big budget coming up in a couple of days from now. If you were advising the Modi government still, what would you tell them to focus on? What would you like to see?
No, I think India, I mean, obviously we are moving into an election year. I do think that the accent has to be on growth. How do we revitalize growth? Because next year growth is going to be harder. As I said, we're already at the 5% mark.
What could the government do to step the accelerator on the growth?
I think where it can generate new reforms, it should look for that. I mean, those
like what?
They're well known, right? What all can we do in terms of generating growth? Can we make starting businesses easier? That's something that nobody could complain about. Once you move to things like privatization, etc., of course there's a whole lot of angst. Is this going to affect me or not? But where we have still low-hanging fruit, where a powerful government can take action, I would take all those actions. Where I would not take action is raising tariffs. There's going to be demand again. Look, we're hurting, the global economy is going to slow down, protect us. That, to my mind, will make it harder for us to join the various supply chains that we're talking about.
But Prime Minister Modi did try with the farm law reform, with land acquisition in his first term, and there was a big political backlash. That makes it very difficult, even for a politically powerful government, to push through reform, even if that reform is in the best interest of the country.
I think the lesson from that, first, on the land acquisition, it was more, there was the opposition which protested and immediately there was very little talk. Perhaps that could have been explored with the states better, because there are some states that have decent acquisition laws which don't create a lot of pushback that could have been explored. Similarly, on the farm laws, I think the problem to some extent is it was done without significant consultation. On the basis, we already know what people are going to say, therefore we're going to do this. Sometimes consultation helps, if nothing else, even if you don't change the elements, for people to be taken into confidence, including the various states. What is it that we need to do which works best with what you already have? If we had done more of that consultation, who knows, maybe there would have been greater receptivity. So there is an advantage of being a strong government. You can say, you have to take it. But
what are the low-lying, you mentioned low-lying fruit. What are the low-lying fruit which should be plucked but haven't been plucked so?
Well, I think we talk a lot about making business easier to start. We check the boxes on the World Bank sort of doing business score. But if you ask the ordinary business person, is it easier? They will say no. Take taxation and the tax authorities. Are they friendlier? Is it easier to deal with your tax
It is in some ways.
I think for the ordinary man, yes. For the business person, it depends. It's not always easier. Broadly speaking, I'm saying, make government work with people, for people. And for that, there are some I mean, look, we've done some of it. Passports become much easier over the years. Let's look at every aspect of doing business. How can we simplify it? And not just by making it a single window where you send your 25 applications through one window rather than sending it to 25 different places. Do we need 25 people to make a decision on that business opening?